Have you ever felt like nobody sees you, your talents locked away while others laugh? Picture a waitress, mocked for being too smart, spotting a billionaire's deal built on lies. In one bold move, Zara Finch risks everything to speak up, her hidden skills shaking the powerful. This is the story of a woman's quiet strength changing her fate forever. Zara Finch hurried through Eclat, a fancy Manhattan restaurant where rich people ate expensive meals and made big deals. At 27, she knew how to stay invisible, her bright mind hidden behind a kind smile and a black waitress outfit, neat shirt, pants, and a tied apron. Her college degree in languages, earned through hard work and scholarships, sat unused as she worked to pay her younger brother's hospital bills after his illness drained their family's savings. Zara spoke 5 languages, learned from her mom's immigrant stories and her own late-night studying. Her days were spent earning tips, her dreams pushed aside to keep her brother alive. Tonight, her heart raced as she approached the private table where Marcus Holt, a rich tech boss in his early 40s, sat with his business partner, Elena Brooks, a woman in her late 30s. Marcus, in a sharp gray suit with an open white shirt, looked sure of himself, his dark hair neat. Elena, in a tight green dress with her blonde hair in a bun, looked clever and tough. At the table, Marcus and Elena talked about a $4 billion deal for a translation app meant to work worldwide. Their translator, Amy, a nervous woman in her mid-30s in a messy beige jacket, sat between them, writing notes as Elena spoke in Spanish. Zara set down a tray of water glasses, listening closely. Elena was explaining the app's features, but her words sounded sharp, like she wasn't happy. Amy translated for Marcus, making everything sound perfect. Zara's hand shook as she poured water. Something felt wrong, but she stayed quiet, knowing her job and her brother's medical care depended on keeping her head down. Zara adjusted a napkin, her mind stuck on her brother's tired face in the hospital. She had given up grad school to help him, taking insults from bosses who thought she was just a waitress. Her mom's Spanish songs, sung during long nights by her brother's bedside, gave her strength, but staying silent felt heavy. Elena glanced up, her voice in Spanish full of mockery. She said the oversmart waitress was standing there like she thought she was part of the deal. The words cut Zara, reminding her of teachers who said her dreams were silly and customers who ignored her. Her heart pounded, the unfairness burning inside her. Marcus leaned forward, his eyes on Elena, talking about the app's budget. He said it needed more money for ads to make it big. Elena nodded, but her Spanish sounded tense, like she didn't agree. Amy translated, saying Elena loved the ad plan. Zara's stomach twisted. She knew that wasn't right. The deal was huge, and lies could hurt Marcus's company. She wanted to speak, but fear of losing her job stopped her. Her brother's weak voice, asking if they'd be okay, pushed her forward. Elena's mockery grew louder, her Spanish sharp as she said the waitress should stick to pouring water, not acting smart. Zara's hands clenched, the words hitting like a slap. She couldn't stay quiet anymore. Her mom's songs, her years of study, her brother's hope, they all screamed at her to act. She put down the pitcher and spoke. She said, "Excuse me, but there's a problem with the translation." Marcus looked up, annoyed, and asked why a waitress was interrupting. Elena laughed, her Spanish mean, saying the oversmart waitress thought she was better than everyone. Zara met her eyes and said, "Actually, Ms. Brooks, you just said I think I'm better than everyone." Marcus's eyes narrowed, and Elena's laugh stopped. Amy, the translator, looked scared, gripping her notes. Zara's heart raced, but she kept going. She said the translation is wrong, and it's hurting the deal. Marcus asked what she meant, his voice sharp. Elena smirked, saying in Spanish that the waitress was making a fool of herself. Zara took a breath, thinking of her brother, and said she could prove it. Marcus told her to go ahead. Elena spoke in Spanish about the app's budget, saying it was too big and wasteful. Amy translated it as praise for the budget. Zara shook her head and said that's not what she said. She called the budget wasteful. The table went silent. Marcus's face got hard, Elena's smirk faded, and Amy's hands shook. Zara stood tall, the unfairness of being mocked pushing her forward. She had faced years of people looking down on her, but this was her chance to use her skills. Marcus said to keep going, Tell him Elena's next words. Elena, her voice in Spanish colder now, said the app's timeline was too fast, like building a car with no wheels. Zara translated every word, saying Elena wanted a slower schedule to fix the app. Elena raised her eyebrows, surprised, and said in Spanish the waitress isn't as dumb as she looks. Zara translated that too, her voice steady. Marcus leaned back, his eyes on Amy. He said if this is true, you're lying to me. Amy stammered, saying translations aren't always exact. Zara said no, it's on purpose, she's hiding the truth to push the deal. Elena looked at Zara, her Spanish softer, asking why a waitress would risk her job. Zara thought of her brother's hospital bed and said it's wrong, and I'm done staying quiet. She translated her own words for Marcus. Marcus got angry and told Amy she was fired, saying to leave now. Amy grabbed her bag, muttering, and ran out. Elena laughed quietly and said in Spanish that the waitress stole the show. Marcus asked Zara's name. Zara Fincher. He told her to sit, saying they needed someone honest to fix the deal. Zara sat, her heart pounding with fear and excitement. Elena's eyes gleamed, her Spanish full of mockery again, saying don't get too cozy, oversmart, tell me what else I said wrong. Zara remembered Elena's words about the app's bad design. Elena nodded, and Marcus leaned in, starting to trust her. Elena spoke in Spanish about the deal's risks, saying it could fail big. Zara translated, feeling the room shift. She was part of the deal now. Marcus said let's talk about those risks. What's the biggest problem, Elena? She began in Spanish, saying the app's code was weak and could crash. Zara translated, catching a hint of worry in Elena's voice. Marcus asked Zara what she thought. She paused, thinking of her brother, and said the code sounds like a real problem, it needs fixing fast. Elena nodded, surprised, and said in Spanish the waitress is sharp. Elena Brooks leaned forward, her voice sharp in Spanish as she pushed for a new clause in the $4 billion translation app deal, demanding her firm get half the profits until the app proved it could handle global users. Zara Finch translated her words clearly, telling Marcus Holt that Elena wanted a bigger share because she thought the app wasn't ready. Zara's hands gripped the notepad, her heart pounding in a class private dining room. At 27, she had gone from an invisible waitress in a black uniform, neat shirt, pants, and apron, to a key part of a massive deal, her 5 languages and college degree finally breaking free to help pay her brother's hospital bills. Marcus, in his early 40s, sat with his gray suit jacket off, white shirt sleeves rolled up, his confident look turning to a frown. He said Elena's demands sounded like a trick to control his company. Zara translated his words into Spanish, catching Elena's eyes narrow. She was ready to argue. Zara took a breath, the unfairness of Elena's earlier mockery still stinging. She spoke up to Marcus, her voice steady. She said, Mr. Holt, Amy's translations were all wrong. She hid Elena's real words about the app's weak code and bad design to make you sign a bad deal. Marcus's face darkened, his eyes flashing with anger. He slammed his hand on the table and said, Amy's been lying to me this whole time, pushing me into a mess. Zara nodded, her brother's tired face in her mind, keeping her strong. Elena's face reddened, and she shouted in Spanish, her voice loud and angry, telling Zara to stop acting like a hero and just translate, that a waitress had no place in their deal. The words hit Zara hard, like the bosses who yelled when she spoke up, but she stood tall, translating Elena's outburst for Marcus, her hands shaking but her voice clear. Marcus turned to Elena, his voice low and mad. He said her shouting wouldn't scare him, and Zara was the only one telling the truth. Zara translated his words into Spanish, feeling the room's tension rise. Elena, still angry, challenged Zara, her Spanish fast and sharp. She said if the oversmart waitress thinks she's so smart, let her explain the app's biggest flaw right now. Zara paused, her brother's hospital bills pushing her forward. She said in Spanish that Elena had called the app's code weak, saying it could crash under heavy use, and hid it to trick Marcus. She translated her own words for Marcus, adding that Elena's plan was to rush the deal. Elena's eyes widened, her anger mixed with surprise as Zara got every word right. Marcus's anger boiled over. He turned to Amy, who sat pale and quiet, and said, "You're fired, Amy, get out now before I call security." Amy grabbed her bag, muttering excuses, and ran out, leaving the table silent. Marcus leaned back, his face hard, and said, "This deal's off, Elena. You and Amy tried to trap me in a cheap project that could ruin my company and my name. This app's a joke, and I'm done with your games." Zara translated his words into Spanish, her heart racing as the deal fell apart. Elena's face tightened, her Spanish quick and smooth as she tried to manipulate him. She said Marcus was overreacting, that her firm's money could still save the app, and Amy's lies were just a mistake. Zara translated, keeping Elena's slick tone clear. Marcus shook his head, not listening. He said Elena's trap was clear. Her firm wanted a quick profit from a bad app that would hurt his image. He told her to cancel their partnership now, or he'd make sure everyone knew her firm back to failure. Zara translated his words, her voice steady despite the heat in the room. Elena's eyes flashed, her Spanish sharp as she shouted at Zara again, saying the waitress was ruining everything, that she should stay out of it. Zara translated the outburst, her chest tight with the unfairness, but her brother's weak smile kept her going. She stood firm, knowing she had exposed the truth. Elena tried again, her Spanish calmer now, saying Marcus needed her money to fix the app, and Zara was just a waitress who didn't understand business. Zara translated, adding that Elena was trying to twist things to save the deal. Marcus waved his hand, cutting her off. He said he didn't trust Elena anymore, and Zara's honesty was the only thing keeping him at the table. Zara told Elena his words, feeling stronger. She wasn't just translating, she was changing the game. Elena's face fell, her manipulation failing, but she pushed one last time, saying in Spanish that Marcus would regret walking away, that her firm could make him billions. Zara translated, her tone clear, showing Elena's desperation. Marcus leaned forward, his voice cold. He said Elena's firm was betting on a broken app, and he wouldn't let it drag his company down. He told Zara to keep translating, saying he wanted every word exact. Zara nodded, her confidence growing as she relayed his words. The dining room felt heavy, with papers and empty glasses scattered on the table. Zara stood tall, the sting of Elena's shouting fueling her, but the chance to help her brother kept her focused. Marcus said Elena had one chance to admit her plan, or he'd end their partnership for good. Zara translated, catching Elena's angry glare. Elena's Spanish was tight, saying she only wanted a strong deal, not a trap, and Marcus was too stubborn to see it. Zara translated, her voice firm, making Elena's excuse sound weak. Marcus shook his head, saying he saw through her now, thanks to Zara. He told Elena to leave, saying their partnership was over. Zara translated, her heart pounding as the deal crumbled. Elena stood, her face red, shouting in Spanish that Zara was a nobody who ruined her chance. Zara translated, standing her ground, the unfairness burning but her brother's hope keeping her strong. Marcus turned to Zara, his anger softening. He said she saved him from a disaster and asked what she thought of the app's future. Zara paused, thinking of her brother's hospital bed. She said it could be fixed, but only with a new team and honest work. Elena scoffed in Spanish, saying a waitress couldn't know that. Zara translated, adding her own reply in Spanish that she knew enough to spot Elena's lies. Marcus nodded, impressed, and said Zara was sharper than his advisors. He told Elena to pack up, her firm was out. The room's mood shifted, Elena's shouting fading as her plan fell apart. Zara felt the weight of her brother's bills lighten, knowing she had made a difference. Marcus said he needed someone like Zara to keep things honest. He asked what she'd want to join his team. Zara thought of her brother's weak voice, asking if they'd be okay. She said $50,000 a month, plus a bonus for hospital bills. Marcus nodded, saying that's fair, start Monday. Elena, still standing, said in Spanish that the oversmart waitress would fail in their world. Zara translated, looking at Elena, and said I won't fail, I'm just getting started. Marcus said let's talk about what's next, Zara. What's the first step to fix this app? Zara took a breath, her confidence strong. She said we need a new team to check the code and make it strong. Elena interrupted in Spanish, saying Zara was dreaming too big for a waitress. Zara translated, her voice steady, and added her own words in Spanish. Maybe, but I'm not the one who lost today. Marcus smiled and said Elena, you're done. leave now. Elena grabbed her tablet, her Spanish sharp as she said Marcus would regret this. Zara translated, feeling the power shift. Marcus said he'd take his chances with Zara. Marcus Holt leaned back in his chair, his gray suit jacket off, white shirt sleeves rolled up, his sharp eyes locked on Zara Finch in Ecla's private dining room. The $4 billion translation app deal was dead, cancelled after Zara exposed Elena Brooks's scheme with the lying translator, Amy, who had tried to trap Marcus in a cheap project that could ruin his company's name. At 27, Zara stood tall, her black waitress uniform, neat shirt, pants, and loosened apron, no longer hiding her 5 languages and college degree. Her heart pounded with pride, the weight of her brother's hospital bills feeling lighter after her bold stand. Her mom's Spanish songs, sung during long nights by her brother's bedside, had fueled her rise from invisible waitress to the hero of the night. Marcus broke the silence, his voice warm with respect. He said Zara didn't just save his company, she showed him what real talent looks like, and he owed her big. Elena stood by the table, her green dress sharp against her tense face, her blonde bun coming loose. Her Spanish was bitter, saying the oversmart waitress destroyed a good deal and would fail in their tough world. Zara translated, her voice steady, though Elena's words stung like old insults. Teachers who called her dreams silly, bosses who saw only her apron. She looked at Elena and said in Spanish that she didn't destroy the deal, she saved Marcus from a lie. Marcus grinned, telling Zara to ignore Elena's anger, she was just mad her plan failed. Zara translated his words, her chest swelling with strength, the unfairness of Elena's shouts fading under her new power. The dining room felt calm now, the scattered papers and empty glasses on the dark wood table a sign of the deal's end. Marcus leaned forward, his eyes on Zara. He said she wasn't just a waitress, she was sharper than anyone he'd ever hired. Her honesty caught what his whole team missed, and that was worth more than Elena's billions. Zara's heart raced, the years of being ignored melting away. Elena scoffed in Spanish, saying Marcus was crazy to bet on a nobody over her firm's money. Zara translated, her tone clear, showing Elena's desperation. Marcus waved his hand, saying Elena's time was up, she needed to leave before he called security. Zara told Elena his words, her confidence growing as Elena's face tightened. Elena grabbed her tablet, her Spanish sharp as she said Zara would pay for ruining her chance. Zara translated, then answered in Spanish that truth was worth more than Elena's threats. Marcus nodded, impressed, and said that's why you're here, Zara. You don't back down. He stood, offering his hand, and said she deserved a real place on his team, not as a helper but as head of strategy, starting at $100,000 a month, plus a big bonus to cover her brother's hospital bills. Zara's breath stopped. The money could clear their debt, give her brother a future, and prove she was more than a waitress. She shook his hand, her voice soft but sure, saying thank you, I'll do my best. Marcus sat back, his smile wide. He said Zara's courage gave him a chance to build something better than that broken app. He wanted her to start Monday, leading a team to create a new translation project from the ground up. Zara nodded, the weight of her family's struggles lifting. Elena, still standing, tried one last jab in Spanish, saying a waitress couldn't run a real team. Zara translated, then replied in Spanish that Elena's lies didn't belong in any team. Marcus laughed, telling Elena to get out. Her partnership was over for good. Zara translated, her heart pounding with triumph, the pain of Elena's mockery now a spark for her rise. Elena stormed out, her green dress flashing under Ecla's dim lights. Marcus turned to Zara, his voice serious. He said she didn't just stop a disaster, she showed him what true skill looks like. He asked what she'd need to make the new project work. Zara paused, thinking of her brother's weak smile, her mom's tired face. She said honest coders, a strong plan, and enough money to make the app work for everyone. Marcus nodded, saying that's why I trust you, you see what matters. Zara's eyes stung with pride, the years of being called oversmart now proof of her strength. Marcus pulled out a business card and slid it across the table, saying come to my office Monday, be ready to lead. Zara took it, her fingers steady, the card a key to a new life. She thought of her brother, who'd never worry about bills again, and her mom, who'd see her as a leader. The dining room, with its dark table and city lights outside, felt like a place she'd won. Marcus said Zara's name would be known, not as a waitress but as a star in his company. Zara smiled, the hurt of Elena's shouts gone, replaced by respect. Zara stood taller, her voice clear. She said she'd bring her all to make the project right. Marcus nodded, saying he expected nothing less from his new head of strategy. The manager, who'd glared at her before, stood by the door, but Zara didn't care. Her days of serving tables were done. Her mom's Spanish songs, sung to keep her strong, lifted her now. Marcus said one last thing. You're not oversmart, Zara, you're brilliant, and I'm lucky to have you. Zara's heart swelled, the injustice of being mocked now a fire for her future. As they prepared to leave, Marcus clapped her shoulder, saying Monday's just the start, we're building something big. Zara nodded, ready to step into her new role. The city lights outside shone brighter, matching the hope in her heart. She wasn't a shadow anymore, she was a force, her quiet strength now loud and clear. Marcus said he'd send her a contract tonight, with all the details. Zara said she'd sign it, ready to lead. He smiled, saying good. Zara Finch stepped out of Eclat into the cool Manhattan night, the city's lights stretching before her like a new beginning. Once a waitress hidden behind a black apron, mocked as oversmart, she was now Marcus Holt's head of strategy, her 5 languages and quiet strength reshaping a billion-dollar future. The sting of Elena's shouts faded, replaced by the warmth of Marcus's trust and a contract that would clear her brother's hospital bills. Zara's heart swelled with her mom's Spanish songs, once sung to keep her strong, now a melody of victory. The injustice of being overlooked had fueled her rise, turning her from a shadow into a force. As she walked, she clutched Marcus's card, ready to lead a team and build an app that would change lives, just like hers had changed tonight. Her story wasn't just about exposing lies, it was about proving that hidden talent, when given a chance, can shine brighter than any spotlight. Zara smiled, knowing her brother would see her as a hero, and her future was hers to write. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, hit that like button, share it with someone who loves a good twist, and subscribe for more cinematic tales that hit you right in the heart. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from.